YouTube? How's it going? Welcome back to the Actor's Take. We got some interesting things to talk about today. Mads Mikkelsen had a take on the idea or the concept of method acting. His remarks are not the first time I've heard these things before. I mean, when you're in the acting space, sometimes people give their takes on their process of how they prepare for a role. And typically what I've found in my experience is that the more serious the role, the more crazy the process is for some of the co-stars that I've at least acted with. I can kind of understand why they would go down that route, but ultimately, I do end up finding it just a waste of energy and a waste of time going as far as they go. I don't know. I mean, people talk about Heath Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix, like those Joker roles, right? I think their process worked for them. I don't think necessarily that the process of method acting as a whole is for everybody. Not to mention it's not for all actors. But I want to read about something that was interesting that he said that was that pretty much a little bit made me a little happy here. Before we go, let me explain to people who are like not necessarily into the whole realm of acting like that. Let me just kind of explain what method acting is. Okay, method acting is known informally as the method. The method. And it's a range of training and rehearsal techniques that's formulated by a number of different theater practitioners. Pause just for a second. A lot of times, I know in Hollywood, a lot of film actors like to fall on this whole idea of method acting a lot, but you see it more so in theater work. You see it a lot with like people who are on Broadway and things like that because everything is live. So a lot of times those actors, when they take the approach of method acting, it's a little bit more popular in that medium. You understand? So let's keep going. Different practitioners that seeks to encourage sincere and expressive performances through identifying with, understanding, and experiencing a character's inner motivations and emotions. What does that essentially mean? Well, just to put it in a nutshell, just to kind of give you the blunt of it all, it's pretty much where when you're cast as a character that is let's just take an eclectic character. You know what I mean? And you as the actor who was cast for that role can't necessarily relate to this character yet. So what you do is you do your research and you start kind of understanding where his personality lies within you. You start going on this journey of identifying and relating to this character in some way. Like if you was casting somebody with a serial killer, obviously you're not going to be a serial killer. You don't commit crimes, but what you will be doing is finding things to redeem the character for you, so that way you can find a more authentic way to perform this character as authentically as possible. You will find things to empathize with him. Maybe find some of the personal things that you may agree with or not. And you would never, and this is kind of like the rule of all acting, but really you would never ever judge his actions or his motives or his incentives for doing whatever bad things that he may be doing. And not to mention, guys, this doesn't just go for villains and bad guy characters. It goes for all characters that whatever it is that you're going to be casting, right? And typically, what happens is they embody these these attributes to where it almost spills into their personal lives. And now they have consented into actually being this character, like authentically being this character in real life, headspace, the way he moves, the way he talks. They go out of their way to pretty much present themselves as this character from now on. That can be months, years, even. And depending on the process, sometimes they embody that before people even start shooting, or sometimes when it comes to plays, before they even start rehearsals. And one of the things that me personally that I found a problem with, sort of, with the whole process was that they took the role and made the production space like the workspace. I'm gonna call it the workspace because essentially for actors that is the workspace. Being around that actor who is taking on the method process, they made that workspace uncomfortable. And I had a problem with those kinds of things just because in my mind it's all just pretend. For the moment when we're being shot on something or we're on stage, being that character is just temporary for that moment. And I'm giving it my all when I'm being this character. But I always make sure that everybody is safe, everybody is fine, everybody believes that this is just me doing a job. And sometimes I surprise some people. Sometimes they see a side of me that they would have never expected. You know what I mean? But when I come down and even shake some of the energy off, that's healthy for me as an actor because it doesn't keep me in that headspace, whatever it is, whether it's negative or just whatever it is that's draining me to become this character. I always make sure that I don't spill that into my personal life, let alone the acquaintances that I'm around, because I don't want to make them uncomfortable. And you'll have actors who are so serious about the role that they don't care what happens. They don't care who gets caught in the crosshairs of their behavior, of their just anything. Like if somebody doesn't like them for a time, in their minds they think that this is me doing my job. If you don't like me, great. It's gonna sell well on camera. Not understanding too, or maybe they do understand, but they're just not aware of it. They're not aware of the impact that they're actually causing for the production. So let me just continue on what Matt Mikkelsen says. He says it's bullshit. It's bullshit, but preparation you can take into insanity. I agree. What if it's a shit film? What do you think you achieved? Am I impressed that you didn't drop character? You should have dropped it from the beginning. How do you prepare for a serial killer? You're gonna spend 2 years checking it out. Mikkelsen took on a mocking voice and added, uh, "This is just great. I'm having a cigarette. This is from 2020. So I guess the person he's talking to, he's showing the cigarette that he's smoking, or he's miming to the person he's talking to. He's saying, "I'm having a cigarette. This is from 2020. It's not from 1870. Can you live with it?" The actor said, "It's just pretentious." I couldn't have said it better than that. It's just pretentious. The media goes, "Oh my God, he took it so seriously. Therefore, he must be fantastic. Let's give him an award." Then that's the talk that everybody knows about, and it becomes a thing. So the biggest example I can get, this is like pretty much the most popular example of modern, of not modern, but like of recent years, is the thing with Heath Ledger as the Joker. I think after with his passing and things like that, not to mention him winning award as well, a lot of people started to research the mind and the method behind his approach to the Joker, because it was just that good. And anybody who's seen The Dark Knight, it's like, how is this Joker that damn good? I mean, sometimes people say that their favorite Joker is still Jack Nicholson. Ever since Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker, everybody started talking about this whole idea of method acting. Like, man, he did this and that. He took pills and started writing diaries and locked himself in his room. And they started to praise that approach, to praise that approach because his portrayal of the Joker was just that good. I'm just saying that the amount of stress and the amount of energy that you put into a role, to where you're resorting to, pills and things like that just because you want to make sure that the character is right. It's sort of, it's like, yeah, you're making this character more authentic and you're giving it what it needs, but at what expense? At what cost? At your health? At your life? I don't think it needs to take all that. You know what I'm saying? I like the example where Mickey Rourke, who played the electrocution guy, I don't know his name, but he played that guy in Iron Man 2 and did extensive research on just what it's like to be in a prison. I think he locked himself in a prison, or he stayed in a prison for like some months, maybe years, I think. Did all of that research only to be in that movie. Like scarcely. Like scarcely. It was like, and the movie wasn't even that good. I mean, it wasn't as good as the first one. It was alright, but his portrayal wasn't really remembered like that. I didn't see any of that research in his portrayal of the villain, because the movie was executed more so on the backbone of Tony Stark, and we only saw him, not Tony Stark, but Mickey Rourke's character. We only saw him like a handful of times. You know what I mean? He wasn't really doing anything that groundbreaking, and so to just know that that's the effort he put into, it's like, damn, dude, like you gonna do that next project? I mean, I'm just saying. But it's just things like that, like where you have people who don't understand the process behind acting, who are praising these people for going super crazy with their process at the expense of their health or, and sometimes others' health. You know what I mean? Only to just look subpar and average when the movie comes out. I would have the time of my life just breaking down the character constantly. Exactly. And I agree with him. I think that if you want to embody what it feels like and what it means to be a certain character, to each his own, I guess. But at the end of the day, acting is all about um pretending. It's all about finding what's real, or finding what you think is real for the character, and performing that as best you can. And if it pays off, that's great. You don't have to do any work beyond that unless it requires some of that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And doing all of this extra stuff to where now you're just being this character everywhere you go. You're being mean to folks. You're mistreating people because this is what your character would do. I'm not necessarily for that, dog. I think, you can be an actor and just go home, do your homework, find what you think works for the actor, and it's gonna pay off. How do I feel about method acting? I don't necessarily think it's necessary for all roles. I do think it's being pushed into the mainstream a little too much. And I think it's starting to flood into certain conversations, like when people start saying, you need to cast somebody who is this character. And it's like, no, they don't. Like, no, they don't. Hamilton was all black cast. Well, all black and like a couple Hispanic actors. No white people. And they're playing white people. You know what I'm saying? And there's a reason for that too, aesthetically wise. But you get what I'm saying. Like, it's all pretend. And these people who are on these tirades about how actors need to be what the character is, that's not for us to decide. That's for casting to decide. And casting tends to do a relatively good job with that kind of stuff. But ultimately, it's like, as actors, you have to be able to respect people and respect production and bring only what's necessary. Even if you want to go a little bit above beyond, just make sure you're not at the expense of other people's health and other people's safety. So that's all I got to say about that. I thought it was a great take. What Madge was saying. But let me get what do you guys think of the comments? You guys let me know what you guys think of method acting. Do you think that it's something that Hollywood maybe takes a little too seriously? Are they making it too popular? Do actors sometimes, take themselves too seriously? You know what I mean? Do you think it's pretentious, like I do? You know what I mean, or not? Like, and what's your favorite performance that was birthed through the journey of method acting? I think that would be a good conversation. But let me guys know in the comments, and I'll see you on the next video. Okay, peace.